I'd like to call the meeting to order, and if we can all stand. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Can we have a roll call, please?
Justin Rock.
Here.
David Glade.
Here.
Corrine Dudo.
Here.
Nicole Howard.
Here.
Molly King.
Here.
Marianne Meisner.
Here.
Denise Wheeler.
Here.
Thank you, Stacy. This evening, we were originally planning to have the Urban Renewal Agency meet. Unfortunately, we pulled the only item on our agenda, so we will not be coming together as Urban Renewal. We are stepping into agenda approval. Does anybody have any changes to the agenda?
We didn't have anything different, but just so the council knows, you have a folder on the dais that has the materials from your last executive session, also with a couple of updated memos for this evening to be able to glance at that. And we'll talk about it in more detail. So, thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Can I get a suggested motion to accept the consent agenda?
I so move.
Second.
All
it's dangerous, it gets euthanized.
Yes, Robert.
I'll reach out to the county commissioner that has the law enforcement component and have a conversation, and I'll report back to the council.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Would anybody else like to address the council?
Oh, hi, my name's Wally Waller, and isn't it a great day? It's just gorgeous outside, and I'm excited. And I spent the majority of the day at the job fair that was on EOU's campus, and I was just kind of inspired at watching, all the folks that came into the Grande to look at folks and get hired, and I was inspired to bring the program that I've been kind of toying with for a while. I call it Fight Back. We're basically teaching job skills, and I've spoken to you about this briefly, where we teach, just some really just retooling to get them back into a workforce of some sort, and in the ethos of recovery. And so I had a flyer, and I didn't know what the format was, but I wanted to share the idea and concept with y'all. Do I just pass it out, or do I just give it to Robert?
You can pass it out. Make sure we get a copy, please.
Okay.
Do the hard work.
Thank you very much.
And I met with a lot of the employers and kind of are trying to decide and discover what the job skills and requirements and other barriers that some of these folks might come into. And it was just an inspiring day. And thank you for doing the teaching at WorkSource that you're doing. A couple of my folks are in our class.
Thank you.
I don't really have anything else to say except if you know employers, let's talk about it. We're talking entry level, retooling, I'm so sorry. All those things that kind of get people back into the day-to-day life of productivity, I would guess, and some mental health improvement, that helps too. So, thanks.
Thank you.
That's cool.
Would anybody else like to address the council?
Counselors. Roxy Ogilvy. I have the unique privilege of being both on URAC and planning, so I see a lot of categories that were covered in the two applications that the agency will be discussing. And I did sit in on the Bonacamp building meeting. And I want to urge the counselors, because one of the things I heard, don't be afraid to take action. That money was set aside after.
Mayor, if I could interject, this is a meeting of the city council, not the Urban Renewal Agency.
Correct, but it's not on the agenda. So can I make a,
Well, but they're not sitting in that capacity.
so I will hold that thought
Thank you.
and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert.
Sure. And Mayor, we do have, as soon as we're done with the public, the tree center safeties.
Is there any other citizen that would like to address the council at this time? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Rob, City Councilors. My name is Isaac Insko. I'm a student at East Oregon University, and I'm kind of here more just to let you know who I am. I'm currently an intern for Representative Bobby Levy, and one of my assignments is to be here at your city council meetings and to be a resource to you if you're ever in need to get in touch with Representative Levy about bills or issues that regards the city of LaGrande. So just wanted to introduce myself and let you know that I am your communicator between you and the state. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I see nobody else approaching the podium, so it's all yours.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm Teresa Gustafson. I'm the urban forester for the city of LaGrande, and I have some news to share. The city of LaGrande has been certified as a Tree City USA for 2022. The Tree City USA program is sponsored by the Arbor Day Foundation and the U.S. Forest Service, and it provides national recognition and support to local urban forestry programs. So this is LaGrande's 33rd year as a Tree City USA since 1990, and there are 4 standards that a city meets to be certified as a Tree City USA. The first standard is to have a tree commission and a city forestry program. And the members of our LaGrande Community Landscape and Forestry Advisory Commission are Tony Smith, our chair, and Jennifer Williams, vice chair, Leah Spiegel, Robert Henderson, and Steve Clements. They volunteer their time to help guide LaGrande's urban forestry policy, and they also plant trees. The second standard is to have a tree ordinance. LaGrande's first tree care ordinance was adopted in 1990 and updated in 2020, and it is the new and improved community forestry ordinance. The third Tree City USA standard is to have an annual urban forestry budget of at least $2 per capita. In 2022, the city of LaGrande committed $18 per citizen to our urban forest. And the fourth standard is to have an annual Arbor Day proclamation and event. And Mayor Rock has signed our proclamation for this year, which will be one of our requirements for 2023. In addition to 33 years as a Tree City USA, LaGrande has also received its 31st consecutive Tree City USA Growth Award. And the Growth Award recognizes higher levels of tree care and community engagement. The city completed 2 projects in 2022 to qualify for last year's Growth Award. We partnered with Eastern Oregon Workforce Board to provide an urban forestry internship position. The Workforce Board brings together business and community leaders to promote and expand workforce development in our 8 Oregon rural counties. We also developed an agreement with Grandscapes Nursery to provide trees for the city tree planting program. Previously, we had been ordering our trees from a big nursery on the west side. So the collaboration that we have with Grandscapes now gives us a better selection of trees. It reduces our transportation costs. It assures that the trees are available when we need them, and the trees are more acclimatized to our early spring weather. So to celebrate this year's Oregon Arbor Month and National Arbor Day, the City of LaGrande sponsored the annual poster contest for 4th and 5th graders. And all of the posters are on display at the Cook Memorial Library, so make sure you get a chance to see them. And then our winning copies of our winning posters are here on the dais. Let's see. On April 28th, the Urban Forestry Division, with help from Parks and Rec, will hold a field day for the students at Riverside Park to learn about all things trees. LaGrande Community Forestry Volunteer Award is also presented in April in celebration of Oregon Arbor Month. And the 2022 award was presented to Lieutenant Nick Holter and the corrections staff at Union County Sheriff's Office, assistance in coordinating in the cleanup of the loads and loads of branches that came down in that November snowstorm. And we are stretching our Arbor Month out a little bit this year. The Spring Community Tree Planting Day is going to be on May 6th. So if you would like to join the Grow LaGrande volunteers and grow our community, you're welcome to come help us plant trees. We're going to shoot for our goal of 100 trees again this year. And you can join us at the Parks Department at 9 o'clock Saturday, May 6th. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Teresa, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we're going to move on into the public hearings. And our first public hearing, the public hearing is still open for the ordinance to be read for the second time by title only and considered for adoption, and that the rule of order for the public hearing were read in its entirety during the regular session of March 1st, 2023. And with that, can we have the staff reports too?
Yeah, nothing different other than hoofed animals to report on. So, no, Are there any questions? It's the second reading. We had some deliberation in the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. But in the end, the product is the same and unchanged that you've seen already. As you know, the highlights of this include the prohibition of alcohol in parks, as well as an increase in trespass penalties based on recent and previous experience, as shown in the document. That's all I got. We can talk about some other sort of trending things. You've noticed that the warming station closed, so Max Square had a little influx of folks for a bit. That ordinance, of course, is a different one. We talked about the no camping in public parks and that you all adopted earlier this year. So law enforcement, as well as my staff, have been out educating folks about that. So seems to be productive conversations. Not that that has anything to do with this, but I figured while I was up here, we talk about that because I know it's on the top of people's minds.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Stu. At this time, I would like to invite public testimony in favor. Opposition? Neutral? Counselor discussion.
Good changes.
Yeah.
At this time, I would like to close the hearing and entertain a motion.
I move that the proposed ordinance regulating conduct in city parks be read for a second time by title only, put to a vote and adopted.
We had a motion and second. Any more discussion? Nope. At this time, can the city recorder read the proposed ordinance for the second time by title only?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of LaGrande, Union County, Oregon, regulating conduct in the city parks of LaGrande, Oregon, setting operating policies, providing penalties, and repealing ordinance number 3237, Series 2017, and all other ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith and declaring an effective date.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you. All right, so our next public hearing and second reading by title only is for proposed ordinance rezoning properties from interchange commercial to general commercial on the zoning map. And once again, the public hearing is still open for the ordinance to be read for the second time by title only and considered for adoption, and that the rules of order for the public hearing were read in its entirety on the regular session of March 1st, 2023. And with that, we have our report. Mr. Mike.
Yeah, thank you. We've already had the conversation on this request. It is a second reading and requesting your support for the zone change of this property. Is located near the interchange. It's between Albany and 21st Street and Q and R Avenue. So it includes one of the hotels, all air electric. There's a couple of homes, the Restore property, and then the primary applicant is Kager Brasseth. And he has a kind of a commercial, small scale manufacturing property. Yeah. Anyway, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mike. At this time, I will ask if there is any testimony in favor. Opposed? Neutral? All right. Counselor discussion. Is anybody? I see none. At this time, I would like to close the hearing and entertain a motion.
I move that the proposed ordinance rezoning property from interchange commercial to general commercial on the zoning map be read for a second time by title only, put to vote and adopted. Second.
Perfect. We've had a motion and a second. Any more discussion? No? Then at this time, could the city recorder read the proposed ordinance for the second time by title only?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of LaGrande, Union County, Oregon, rezoning property from interchange commercial to general commercial on the zoning map and declaring an effective date.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Perfect. Thank you. All right, we are going into a public hearing. The first reading by title only and for proposed ordinance to consider final local improvement district assessments. At this time, I would like to open the public hearing, and if the city recorder could read the rules of order in its entirety.
This is a public hearing to consider an ordinance establishing final assessments for the 2022 citywide sidewalk local improvement district number 22-067. The hearing will proceed as follows. The mayor will request the staff report. Subsequent to the staff report, the mayor will accept testimony relating to the local improvement district. The mayor may state a time limit for testimony. If no time limit is announced, testimony will be limited to 3 minutes. The proceedings are being electronically recorded to be converted to written minutes. When testifying, please step to the podium and clearly print your name and address on the speaker sign-in sheet. State only your name before addressing the council. It is not necessary to state your address. Proponents will be invited to speak first, followed by opponents, and then any parties neutral to the application. An opportunity will be provided to parties to clarify any issues raised or to rebut testimony, first by proponents, followed by opponents, then those neutral. Members of the City Council may ask questions of the staff or hearing participants at any time. The mayor will then close the hearing or continue the hearing at a specified time and place. A counselor must declare any ex parte or pre-hearing contact, including the person's name and the nature of the discussion, as well as any site visitations. Counselors should declare any personal or financial interest in this matter and may disqualify themselves from participation in the hearing. Does any counselor wish to make a declaration? Does anyone in the audience wish to challenge the right of any counselor to hear this matter? Hearing none, let the record show that there are no challenges.
Thank you. Good evening, Kyle.
Good
Can we have a
evening,
staff
Mr. Mayor.
report, please?
Yes. So this council action is putting forth a hearing so that we can adopt the assessments for our sidewalk LID, which ended on December 31st, 2022. So if you remember a month ago at our March meeting, we adopted the staff report. This is just the next step in the process of taking that report, putting it into an ordinance to establish the assessments to those who participated in the program. So from here, finance would take charge and we would actually start following through on collecting the monies that were put out for the contractor during the project. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
I have a question.
All right.
Okay, and this maybe was explained before, but I do not remember and I've been asked. So where do people find out about this improvement, program that it's available, for sidewalks and such? How do they get notified, or is it just on our website, or what?
There's a few ways. Traditionally, the program has been complaint based. So what will happen is we'll have a citizen who will trip on a sidewalk, will show up and inspect. If it requires replacement, we'll contact the property owner, discuss the options, this being one of them. Other times we'll have citizens who are interested in adding a sidewalk, maybe a driveway, a curb cut, or a curb. They contact us because they have to have a right-of-way permit where we establish their insurance and make sure that if there's any damage done on our property that we have coverage. During those times, we'll usually talk about the options of using the LID program to do these upgrades.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are we done doing the whole city? I mean, we used to do zone by zone. Are we still doing the zone by zone?
We kind of took a break from the zone by zone. We had some staff turnover, so we got kind of light in the engineering department who does the zone by zone. Mostly we've been either project or complaint driven for probably about 2 years now. So I would anticipate we're going to get back into the zone by zone. And for the newer counselors, what that is that we actually have 9 zones for the sidewalks throughout the city. We'll take a rotating basis, and I think there only ends up being 6 rotations. So every 6 years, we'll inspect all the sidewalks in those zones, and we'll send out letters, which is another way in which we advertise the program. We haven't been doing that for the last few years, though. So
6 years rotation. But I thought you were going back to it, so that's why.
yeah.
Thank you, Kyle. At this time, I would like to invite public testimony in favor. Opposition? Neutral? There is none. Councilor discussion.
It's a good program.
All right, thank you. At this time, I would like to ask the city recorder to read the proposed ordinance for the first time by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of LaGrande, Union County, Oregon, establishing the final assessments to the property determined to be specifically benefited by the 2022 citywide voluntary sidewalk local improvement district number 22-067 and declaring an effective date.
Thank you. At this time, the public hearing is to continue to May 3rd, 2023, at which time the proposed ordinance is scheduled to be read a second time by title only and considered for adoption. All right, and that ends our public hearings. We will move on to unfinished business. There is none. New business. First one for the new business will be considering awarding a bid for the Headworks Improvement 2023 project. And is that you, Mr. Kyle?
That is me.
We have the staff report, please.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilors, this council action is to request permission to award the bid for our Headworks Improvement Project. Out at the treatment plant, the Headworks facility is the front line for when our wastewater hits the treatment plant. It includes, grinder screens, everything that we do on the front end of treatment. We're upgrading those facilities. The upgrades will actually introduce some redundancies that will increase our abilities for maintenance and large storm flows in the future. We worked with Anderson and Perry on procuring the contract. I believe we got 2 bids. High bidder was Mike Becker of $939,100. So be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Don't you mean low bid?
Yeah, you said the high bidder?
You mean low
No,
bid?
low
right?
bid.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, the winner.
Seemed
The other one is a lot more.
Seemed high to me.
Well, yeah. I agree.
But we budgeted $1 million, so it's under what we have budgeted.
We did. And the beauty of the timing of this project is with all of our problems with supply chain issues, a lot of the parts likely won't be here until the fall. So if we did run into some dire needs, we could get some budgeted money into the next budget and so on and so forth. But we do have the money in the budget for the project.
And the funds come from, it's an enterprise fund?
We're an enterprise fund. So these funds would be out of the savings of the treatment plant that were collected off of rents.
So we've been saving for this.
Yeah, we've been saving for other things, but this came along.
So Kyle, just out of curiosity, I see that the engineers, that's the engineer's estimate. Okay, that wasn't what I was meaning. But why do you think like the pipe and water pump station, their bid, I think that's the right one, Becker bid $248,000 and the other company bid $459,000. What is the difference? Why do you think that such a difference there?
It's all on contractors' means and methods is what it's called. So basically they're given a set of plans that kind of specifies what we're looking for. We don't actually tell them this is what you're going to build. There's a little bit of openness to the bid. They get a set of specs. They have to build something to meet it. So each contractor has the opportunity to interpret what they want to do with that build. So one contractor was able to build it for $200,000 cheaper. So that's how they get the job.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I had because some of them were like over 10,000 more, like just for painting. And I thought,
Yeah.
And so basically, because it's kind of like you said, an estimate or whatever, do you think it might go over or are they locked in at this price?
So they're under the contract, they're locked in at that price to
Okay.
deliver the product they bid on.
Okay.
If there's any changes, we cover those with a change order during the project in which we will ask for changes. They will give us a price for that. We agree on it and it's an addendum to the contract.
All right.
So to deliver what they bid on, they're locked in at that price.
Thank you.
God, we had the engineer's estimate was approximately 200,000 lower than the low bid came in. That's a difference of roughly 25%. I'm interested in that. Is that when did the engineers give their estimate? Is this again inflation cost driving up and the timeline between that, or Or should we consider,
Yeah.
sending this out a little bit more until we get something? I saw they said they thought that was reasonable, but that's a big difference, 25% difference.
It is. We started scoping this project when Lyle brought it up probably about 2 years ago, and the engineer's estimate was around $500,000. So by the time we got to bidding, that's what we're seeing prices, and that's the atmosphere in bidding construction projects today. You're seeing engineers' estimates getting blown out of the water, and then the next time you see that there's this $200,000 high. It's really hard to get your finger on what's going on the contractor side and what they're going to bid. I know for this one, the one that really caught my eye was the concrete work. We used to get concrete $250 a foot or a yard finished. And now I think we're up in the range of $500-600 a yard finished.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was
it's-
the one I was referring to as the the concrete.
Yeah,
because
and
it's
it's
so much
just
higher.
amazing to sit and watch. You
Yeah,
just don't know
18,000.
where it's going to be. I mean, in the olden days, we used to have, what we used to call bidding strategies, where you would build these contracts and then you would try and put percentage maximums on certain line items because you knew that's where contractors would go to hide money, or if they saw a weakness in your project where they could capitalize on maybe some unit costs. Now you don't know where they're going. So it's gotten real difficult to resize with the lack of contractors who bid your projects, the inability to get the materials to complete your projects, and then timing tied into all of that.
How critical is this project? I mean, in your opinion, should we consider biding our time a little bit? We got totally 2 bids. And again, that's a pretty substantial, and even more so if you say, hey, when we started this, that was roughly half of the amount was what the engineers estimated.
My personal opinion and recommendation would be to move forward with this contractor. What we're still seeing, material costs are still escalating. We're not seeing a drop off at this point. I mean, we're paying for PVC. I think PVC pipe is about 6 to 10 times what it was 2 years ago. We're not seeing it die off even as supplies come back up. We're not seeing a lot of bidders. We're not seeing contractors coming out of the woodwork who are bidding projects. There isn't a lot of indications that we're going to get a better bid in the future. As a part of this project, the city itself procured the equipment to save the 10% markup on the equipment because we ordered roughly around $200,000 in excessive equipment that will be installed in this project. So we are already sitting with a sunk cost of, I'm going to guess, around $200,000 to $300,000.
I have one more question. I went through the itemized list that you wrote. I understand everything. But the item number 6, it just says metal building. So what is that used for, or what is it needed and stuff?
So as part of the new Headworks facility, we're going to install a metal building over the screens.
Oh, over the screens.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of the biggest problems they have in the current setup is, I don't know who's been to the treatment plant, but if you stand on that north levee at the right time of day, the water can actually whip up and hit you in the face because the wind blows so hard. That's really great until you get to this time of year when you have 18-degree weather and it's blowing up your screen and freezing it. So the new design will put those screens inside in hopes that we can keep them unfrozen and save some maintenance and work by our guys of trying to keep them running full time.
Thank you.
Didn't want to know that.
Yeah, I think one thing.
You do want to know that before you get there.
We won't ask for a tour.
One thing I think we need to take in consideration is the inflation. Everything has gone up, labor, everything. So yes, it is quite a bit more money, but in the same sense, this is a necessity that needs to be done. Am I
We're still
correct?
within budget.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cal.
And Kyle, just when you were saying that, I think it is time for us to take another tour of the facility. I haven't done that in
Maybe when
years,
it's
and I
warmer.
need to go.
I think Lyle showed up just so that you'd know who to look for when it came time for that tour.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
probably once a week to do bird watching. So
Yeah,
there's bird watching in the area.
that's the truth.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
It is worth going on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. At this time, I'd like to invite public comments. In favor, neutral, opposition? No. All right. Any counselor discussion on this project?
It's nice it's a local contractor.
Yes.
Is entertain a motion?
I move that we award the Headworks Improvement 2023 project to Michael A. Becker, General Contractor, Inc., to the amount of $939,100 as shown in the bid summary, and further that city manager Strope be authorized to execute contract documents for the bid for the Headworks Improvements 2023 project.
Second.
We've had a motion and a second. Any more discussion on the council before I ask for a vote? Nope. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. Thank you. All right. On our next, we are going to consider approving intergovernmental agreements between the City of LeGrand, Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan update. We have a staff report, please, Kyle.
Of course. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this council action is a request to approve accepting a grant to update the LeGrand's Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan. So previously, we were on a multi-jurisdictional plan that was put together by, I think it was Union, Baker, Grant, Wallowa, and Umatilla County, and we had a spot in the appendix. Since then, Union County has written a county hazard mitigation plan, and in there, it kind of notes it covers the county. Well, we have a lot of projects in which funding is actually dependent on us having a FEMA-approved natural hazard mitigation plan. There's a chance that we could slide in with the county one, but the opportunity came along where we got a grant that would actually give us our own. We wouldn't have to question whether we slide in or not because we have one in place. And the beauty of this one is usually these grants come with a 25% cash match, but according to House Bill 5006, which is approved in 21, they pick up our 25%. So the city's only investment in this is staff time. And I believe the agreement says I have to buy treats if we have any meetings or public outreach events. So, be happy to answer any questions.
Do you have it in your budget?
The treats, I think we can find.
Okay.
We can volunteer to make them.
Perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
Who's the steering committee going to be composed of?
So far, there's been some preliminary discussions with DLCD, and they're kind of pulling together a list. They're not inside the community, so they're also getting input from us on different ideas. The main focus of the grant is to make sure that we reach underrepresented population bases. So, there's going to be reaching out to the college. There's going to be reaching out to some of the city staff, the county. There will also be, the suggestions of maybe some of the church organizations that may be able to pull in something. We'll also reach out to DHS and maybe some of the other commissions in the area. This steering committee is a little different than most of the ones I participated in. It's not going to be a small membership that feeds into a larger membership of stakeholders. Their definition of the steering committee is bringing all parties into one room to be part of the decision-making and the walking through of the exercise. So
these are just members of the public, not necessarily public officials with a stake in this.
Yeah, kind of both. Hopefully a well-balanced mixed room.
Okay.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to invite public comments. Nope. All right. Counselor discussion.
Those are always good to have.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
No brainer.
Makes sense.
Perfect. Then I would like to entertain a motion. Then.
I move that we authorize city manager Strope to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Department of Land Conservation and Development for the update of the City of LeGrand's Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more additional discussion? No. All in. We good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right, our next one is Union County Commissioners update. Unfortunately, Commissioner Scarfo called me and said he was unable to make it to this evening, so we will move on to staff comments. Is there any staff that would like to step up to the podium and?
I didn't want to take cuts.
Good evening, Chief.
Mr. Mayor and Council. You may have seen in the newspaper, but I wanted to let you know that we recently were awarded a $20,000 grant from Wild Horse, which helped us to purchase some Lucas compression machines. They help us with CPR when we have a code situation. So I wanted to get that out in the public. We really appreciate that funding help. The city provided about 60% of funding, and we got 40% from them. They've been purchased and they're placed on the ambulances, and we've actually had a couple of successful codes. They don't do any better than our personnel do, but they free our personnel up to do other things, and they are very consistent. So
They don't wear out.
they don't wear out. We do have some long times when we have to code from a long distance out. So anyway, we appreciate the grant.
These are machines that are doing CPR, is that? Where'd that come from?
David.
Yeah, so they're a piston compression machine that are really easy to apply. So they free up one of our personnel from doing compressions, so we can do airway and medication and those types of things. A lot of times, if we're short-staffed, we may just have 2 people to run a code. So the paramedic in the back needs 6 sets of arms to get things done. So that frees them up really well. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening. Sue.
Just a couple updates on 2 projects. One, the Riverside Greenway expansion project is we've talked to some neighboring property owners, kind of worked through some questions they had, and on schedule. So that should be constructed, I'm just going to say, by the fall. So that's exciting. We'll get that kind of squared away. We're going to put in, since we're doing Arbor Day stuff, we're going to put in like 400 trees and shrubs in that area in the first, all from the plant nursery and co, which I forgot the name.
Plantworks.
Thank you. Plantworks, all native stuff, so we don't have to worry about water mostly because there won't be any water source out there. So that's exciting. The other project is the Riverside Playground Replacement Project, which is there's a committee happening. There's 25 or 30 on my list. Their third meeting is coming on tomorrow, and we're down to the point where they're picking their theme, so I can go get some design ideas from vendors. So once those design ideas hit the streets, the plan is to get a whole bunch of public input and figure out what the design is actually going to be, so we can go fund the design. Fundraising's underway. We're already engaged with service clubs and others that are already offering lots of money. So that project's going to happen fast. I think it'll be super fun to watch. So any questions about those 2 projects? Or you want to talk about the other one? Yeah.
Just an update, I guess
Since we're doing updates.
we're doing updates. I think we got the Wild Horse grant. We've got 4 outstanding grants in at the moment, and for various amounts of money. And we've got a commitment from the builder for June 2024. He's got it scheduled.
Great. Any questions about any 3 big projects?
I do. Okay, so when my grandkids here, we always go down to the river.
Mhm.
Okay, is anything happening? So you know how you go through the grass area and you go, that's pretty dangerous.
Mhm.
Is there anything happening with that?
No,
Okay.
not yet. How about not yet?
Okay,
Here's what is happening. There's a conversation with the Grand Ron Model Watershed that we're having with
Okay.
a whole bunch of stakeholders to talk about river restoration through that whole stretch.
okay,
And part of that project will probably include some of that park access in and out stuff. Ours, really, that's space that people utilize, but it's not sponsored by the city, like, if you know what I mean. Like,
yeah,
we're not encouraging people to go down there. There's no signage that says don't, but there's also a fence that is there as a barrier.
well, I'm
So-
talking about the place that's not a fence, right through the grass.
I totally get it. So we don't sanction activities at the river as a rule. As a part of this project, we likely will have funding and resources to create some sort of a park amenity feature that will provide access in and out of the river at that point. But not yet.
So you know when they're meeting on that? You
Well,
mentioned a
right-
date and I didn't write it.
Oh, not for that project. That project is behind the scenes funding process right now.
Okay.
The Grand Round Model Watershed is seeking funding for design and implementation stuff, engineering. Once we get some engineering, we'll get some updated things going. There's all kinds of science that goes into bank restoration and river restoration and lots of permits and things. So, yeah, that'll be a big project that'll last several years.
So I know that Island City, lost the grant to continue the.
Well, they're
the
going to
trail.
lose it, Dave. Just for the public record, they gave the money back.
They gave the money back. There's been some turnover among city officials and others. Has there been any efforts about a conversation to maybe revive something like that? I mean, I think it's great that we're making a loop there, but I think it would be greater if we could extend that.
No conversations after that. There could be, probably not from the city, probably from citizens would be more appropriate. Their desire at the time was to have the county kind of take the lead with that project, because all those properties are in the county, not in incorporated Island City.
Okay.
So part of the challenge with that process was that Island City's city council had to make a decision about this funding that they received, but wasn't in their jurisdiction, if that makes sense.
Right.
Which isn't 100% true. There's one lot owned by Island City and the ponds and things, but anyway, we could get into that later. That's the 10,000 foot level view.
So if we as a council wanted to promote that discussion, it would be appropriate to reach out to the county.
County commissioners probably. It's probably appropriate to double check with Island City first, because they had the original sort of agreement handshake deal, and then proceed with the county, which is what at the time Island City's desire was, to have the county sort of sponsor that if there was another funding source.
Okay.
There's some
And
challenges.
those dollars are gone.
What's that?
Yeah.
Those dollars are gone. The special allocation for those, those dollars are not coming back from that same source.
They couldn't go get them again.
No.
Yeah, it was
They couldn't
unfortunate.
get them.
No.
Okay.
No.
Have to be a different funding source.
Okay.
Okay, anything else you want to talk about parks? This is great. Okay, all right.
Morgan Lake open up again?
Morgan Lake, April 22nd. June.
I thought it was just closed for winter. It's spring now.
Yep, winter ends April 21st.
Okay, since he spoke. So April is Stress Awareness Month. So the library is collaborating with Union County Safe Communities Coalition. And we have stress relievers for free at the library and some journals that you can just write out all your worries. So just wanted to let you know.
Oh, good.
Thank you. Would any of the other staff like to make any comments? Mr. Robert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just a couple things. We finished up the individual meetings this week with the departments on their requested budget. So we're well through the process on that. We'll be putting together the proposed budget. We're on schedule to get that out. One of the things that, I'd sent out an email on this that we're trying to sort out is how we're going to address the IT services going forward with IMESD pulling back and only doing educational. So we're looking at that. The other kind of, no pun intended, labor intensive thing is the labor negotiations. The council will be hopefully coming back out of executive session to vote on the Employees Association collective bargaining agreement. And I'll give you an update on fire. And we have our first session scheduled with police on Monday, the 10th. So things are moving along with those. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, city councilor comments. Denise, do you have any
Oh,
comments?
I'm sorry. I was writing.
Oh, you're fine.
No, I
Perfect.
actually don't.
I have a couple of things. One, I also work at the hospital, and there is this project going on. You may have noticed, like a $70 million building. And they've been doing the erector set thing. And tomorrow they have what's called a topping out ceremony. So they have a ceremonial steel beam that it's the last one that they place. And I guess everybody cheers and stuff. If you want to go watch, you can go down to the track or the fields, and they said that that would be a great place to watch, and that they should be placing that beam at about 4 o'clock tomorrow. So it's been really fun to watch that. Brent's got some good overhead video of it, but if anyone's interested, that's happening tomorrow. And I had an airport commission meeting. Big things going on at the airport right now. They have a project that's a $1.4 million project, and it's a couple of buildings, like hangar buildings, and additional fuel storage, because we are kind of run low on fuel, and they're looking at buying more fuel at cheaper prices so that they have it on hand. But that is going on right now, and starting, well, the design phases this year, construction starts 2025, is rehabbing one of the runways and some taxi lanes, and that's going to be a $4.3 million project. So there's a lot of money going to our airport right now. And they're very mindful of, when they're doing these kinds of construction projects, of keeping the airport as accessible as they can, and working around the fire season as much as they can, which is also construction season, and keeping it open for our businesses, FedEx and UPS and whatnot. So that's what's going on.
Karine, is there any discussion there? I know an ongoing frustration for private pilots is the fact that our airport doesn't have a self-fueling station.
That was in discussion.
Okay.
Yes.
And we lose out on a lot of small pilots who fly into Pendleton and surrounding airports because they can self-fuel in hours that ours is not open.
Yes, and I believe that maybe with this project that's going on, they are looking at doing that.
Okay.
So they're expanding some taxiways to add some more hangars, and there may be some opportunities on that.
Okay.
I will bring that up.
I think that's something that we should contend for, because again, there are economic opportunities as well when we have more pilots landing in our airport.
Yeah, and everything else is self-fuel, you know.
Yep.
I will mention that.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Cool, it's good. Molly?
I don't.
Miss Marianne?
Actually, I don't today.
No? Okay.
Thank you, Marion. Shout out to the Main Street for a pretty awesome St. Patrick's Day. The run brought out a significant number of people on the weekend, and
There's 110 people who, or 125, just went to a meeting this afternoon.
yeah, and then the pub crawl was incredible. I've
Yes.
never seen so many people downtown.
Nice.
Great job.
I didn't even eat that. I just gave water out at one station.
That sounds good.
I wanted to, 'cause it was so cold.
Water is good, Marianne.
Yeah, yes. But I will say, can I go back? But Main Street is planning a community harvest festival in October. And we have a group of our, we have Seroptimus, Optimus, Lions, Rotary Chamber, everybody's involved. And it's going to be great. Huh? At Parks, I'm so sorry. You weren't there last night, but Chris was. I know he was. I forgot Parks, yes. So we have great things going on.
Is the intent for that to be a recurrent event?
We hope so. We plan on, it's got to be at least a 5-year plan, because it's the first year is just the building year.
Right.
Keep going.
And you're all good. Great.
I just wanted to, did we lose Teresa? We did,
Yeah.
but I think, just publicly acknowledge, as I travel around, this is a great place to live, and we should be very proud of what our community forestry is doing. We're a better community because of their efforts. That's a pretty neat running streak that we have to qualify as a tree city.
And tree planting is fun, May 6th. Go. My family's been doing it for years.
My turn. And with that, I was asked to sign 3 different proclamations for the city of LeGrand. The first one will be for the Arbor Month, April 1st, 2023 to April 30th, 2023. The other one will be designated of April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month for April 23. And the last one will be for the Poppy Month, May 23, and Poppy Days, May 18th, 19th, and 20th, 2023. And with that, I do not have any more. We, at this time, are going to recess to executive session. And after our executive session, we will reconvene back to the regular session and continue on.
I'm thinking 20 to 30 minutes or so.
Whoa.
So if anybody wants to wait, we'll be back in about 20, 30 minutes.